Hey everybody, ronarray here, and Path of Exile 2 is getting released pretty soon. Or maybe you already playing it. So in this video, I wanted to give you a few tips that should pretty much help you with the smooth sailing at the start of your journey. Doesn't matter if you played Path of Exile 1 or if you're completely new player. I think most of those should be helpful for everybody. Click on particular timestamps if you're interested in some topics, and let's go. So first tip could appear pretty obvious, however for games like Path of Exile 1 for example, it's completely unusual. You can pause the game at almost any moment, so use that pause for your advantage. You can pause the game at any situation when you feel that something uncomfortable is happening, for example too many monsters or too many effects on the screen. You have a very hard boss fight and you're not sure what's even happening. You can pause the game and think a little. Think about what you're going to do next, how you're going to survive, and how you're going to progress. I think it's a very cool tool, because you can use it at almost any moment. In other RPGs that we played before, like Diablo 4 for example, or Path of Exile 1, you can't pause the game at all. But in Path of Exile 2 you can, so use it for your advantage. Going forward, the second tip is pretty much invest in your defenses. Because in Path of Exile 2, defenses will play a very big role. We right now have only one teleport for most boss fights. We can't revive constantly. We also need a lot of defenses even in early acts, because monsters are doing a lot of damage. And so many classes here are pretty squishy by itself. That way, to survive better, you will need to constantly invest in your defenses. Try to get elemental resistance everywhere where you can, to reach maximum of 75 later on in acts and especially in maps. Invest in energy shield if you have such option. Invest in life on your items, and if you can get additional layers such as evasion for example, additional armor, or some another keystone nodes such as mind over matter when mana can protect your life, definitely take them as fast as possible if you can maintain them, because boosting your survivability will play a huge role and will make your experience during start of the campaign significantly easier. Otherwise it could just feel hard. And going forward, another important tip, using your currency for particular upgrades at the moment. So when you're playing RPGs, there's a huge temptation to just stay and wait. Don't use your currency right now, wait for later, maybe buy something cool. However, right now in Path of Exile 2, the game designed that way, so you should upgrade your items with currency consistently. If you dropped some orbs and you can use it on your items, if you can upgrade your armor or your weapon because you luck it, do that. Don't hesitate, because you're going to drop even more currency going forward. In endgame you're going to drop significantly more, and you will also drop new types of currency. So the currency that you're receiving in early acts is not really that important. You can pretty much use that consistently, and that's a pretty important moment. And the next step is use runes as well, because runes added to items mostly just add a modifier, and GGG designed the game that way, that those modifiers are always kept in mind. You can use them to buff your resistances for example, however you are expected to use those runes, not to wait up until endgame. So if you drop the cool rune and you have a very nice item with a socket, don't hesitate, just click it and you will be able to progress easier and faster. It goes for all type of items. And the next tip is Sidequests. I think Sidequests are playing significantly bigger role than in other games, especially if you're coming from T4 or Diablo games. But even in Path of Exile 1 you're doing Sidequests only for passive points. So here Sidequests can provide a lot of additional buffs and also permanent rewards. For example, most of your spirit will come from Sidequests, so you will need to do at least 3 for spirit. Try to do Sidequests when you can if you're running through, and I'm sure it will make your experience significantly smoother. And the next one is don't forget to roll. Because roll is a new mechanic and I can always expect that less people will use it because it's a little unusual for games like Path of Exile, especially if you're a Path of Exile 1 player. But keep in mind that roll is not giving you complete immunity from damage, from area of effect damage, for example. So if you are rolling, you still could get hit by huge AoE or by damage over time if you are rolling through some particular ground effects. So that's pretty important to keep in mind. However, constantly rolling is a very good way to survive in Path of Exile 2. And another important tip that I think a lot of people can miss. Use WSD movement, or don't use WSD movement, just based on your personal preference. Don't feel obligated to use that. For example, I'm probably not going to use WSD movement at the start of Path of Exile 2. I'm still going to use my normal mouse because I think it will be more convenient for me. So you will be able to test WSD movement later on if you prefer. However, if you get used to playing RPG with just a mouse, stick with it. But if you already prefer WSD and you want to do that and you enjoy it, do that instead. So don't feel obligated to anything here. And the next step is kinda unusual, because usually, especially in Path of Exile 1, it's been different, but pick your Ascendancy very carefully. Unfortunately, in Path of Exile 2 Early Access, we can't repick Ascendancy. And since we can't repick Ascendancy, it's very important to choose the one that you actually like, because you will be unable to repick it. You will need to create a new character if you will want to test second Ascendancy. However, keep in mind that in Path of Exile, currency and items are playing a huge role. So if you will want to create a second character and try something else, it's alright to do so. Because you will keep your currency and you will keep your items, and that's your main part here. Because with those you will be able to progress significantly faster, especially compared to your first character. And getting richer and getting currency is also connected to the next tip. Don't forget to identify items before you're selling them, before you're throwing them away, and for that you will need to use Scroll of Wisdom, which is going to give you a way to identify your item. It works the same way like in Path of Exile 1 or in Diablo 2. And I would recommend to literally identify most of the items that you are finding, because there always could be a next upgrade for you. And also you will be able to sell them for a little better results. So identifying an item is very important. It could be a little annoying, but always keep some Scrolls of Wisdom with you and check those items. Maybe, well, your cool new upgrade is here. Going forward, for a combat part of Path of Exile, there have been a lot of changes. I think it's a very important tip to just use combos. There are combos for different skills, especially for classes like Monk, for example, when you can combine a few different skills for very cool results and additional bonuses. For example, if you are using skills that have very strong hit as the last part of the combo, try to hold it long enough so you will be able to hit with the last part. It goes for Flurry, for example, that I'm going to use myself. The last hit is huge shocking hit, so try to hit with that, not just with a few basic parts of the attack at the start. Because it can improve your damage and it can also help you with additional bonuses, which combos can provide. And another important tip, try to use the trade site. In Path of Exile 2, you will be able to use a trade site to trade with other players, or use a Force currency exchange market to trade with other players too. So if you have a lot of some particular currency and you want to get some other particular currency to boost your build, for example, don't hesitate, at least use Force. But if you want some particular item or you dropped a lot of currency and want to buy something, try to use a trade site as well, because that way you will be able to receive the items that you need and progress significantly faster. So don't forget to trade, I think that's a very important part here. And the last tip, which is very obvious as well. Play the game at your own pace. There's always so much pressure when you try to catch up, when you want to reach something very fast. However, different players play at their own pace, and that's perfectly alright. Just play it at your own tempo and you will have the most fun that way. Don't worry about other players or anything else. There are no requirements to progress to endgame too fast, for example. I'm sure you will be able to enjoy it more if you will not rush through it. And that's been pretty much it. That's my tips for your start, and I hope you will be able to use some of them. If you have some other tips that you want to share, feel free to write them down in the comments, I will check them out. And see you on December 6th or a little later. Thank you very much for watching, ronarray out.